Hi, welcome to the Visitation on St. Gabriel Radio. This is Mary Beth Eberhard. I'm here with my very good friend, Lisa Iglesias.
Hey there, Mary Beth.
Hey, lady. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
It's been a while since we've been able to gather.
Yep.
And I have so much to tell you.
So good.
Okay, so the first thing is I'm taking hip hop class. Did I tell you that?
That's awesome.
I am. Okay, so I'm taking hip hop class because well, okay, so let me just back up. I'm taking hip hop class
I wish I
because
had some
my daughter
background music right now for you, so you could
it would be amazing.
ready go.
No, I'm doing this because my daughter. Well, I'm doing it with my daughter.
Very nice.
Okay, and it's not anything I ever thought I would be doing at age 48 almost.
That's awesome.
But I'm doing it because it stemmed out of a need that I saw. Okay. So do you remember, I think I told you, we talked on the phone and I told you that one of my daughters had something said to her that just like, oof, it like wounded her, right?
Mm-hmm.
She took it into her heart, owned it, and the effects of that I began to see over months going by. And as I prayed about how to respond, because in times like these, we can, if we call attention to certain things, then that can exacerbate a behavior, right?
Exactly, right.
And so you kind of watch and you're like, how do I handle this? So I decided that we were going to take some cooking classes together.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to cook together, and we were going to exercise together. And her idea of exercising was a hip hop dance class, and hence where I find myself on Tuesdays now. Matter of fact, I just had it this morning.
Oh, fun.
No joke.
Did you learn a new move?
You know what? We'll just save that for later.
Okay.
But what I have learned from this, so we've been doing this for about 4 or 5, probably longer months, is that a ministry of presence is so necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure about where to go with her wounds, right? She was like, I'm fine. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine. This is all good.
I used to think I knew what I'm fine meant, because with our sons, that meant they were fine. And then I have a daughter, and it means that probably need to ask again.
It's so true. It's so true, because I've learned with we're going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to try to hold I've learned steady. I'm learned with my daughter, right? I'm fine means, well, we're pressing in, right? And my sons, I'm fine actually means I'm fine. I don't want to talk to you.
It can mean that. You're right.
Right. Like, and it often, like, it's they just handle it very differently. So I'm kind of proud of myself for this this response with how this has come about. Mm-hmm. It's challenging when your kids have words spoken to them that change their identity of who they think they are, who they know themselves to be. Mm-hmm. And true. Like you said, it's different with your sons and with your daughters. And yet, one thing I've learned in my marriage is, well, not in my marriage, yes, in my marriage, but more in becoming a mother, is the need to turn to Mama Mary and say, instead of like rushing to anger or judgment, like how would you handle this? How would you handle this? She's yours more than mine, even before. And I've had some good moments with her.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you is, I wanted to, give me like a little insight then, like how that had come about. Like you were saying, I was just itching here about the hip hop class. Like how did you like, so did you like, because I'm glad you mentioned like that we have that moment where we have to make a choice as moms to, am I going to react and try to solve this really quick and make this end so this person is better, or is this is bigger, seems bigger than what I think it is. And then so did you right away go to prayer, or like did you realize that, oh, this is way bigger than what I can figure out? Or
Girl, you know me so well. I did not go to prayer. Are you kidding? I went to like emotion.
oh sure,
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's like
I think we're kind of built that way as
right.
mamas.
Like I was so like, you give me that person and I'm gonna take them down. Like it was so
I love
and,
it.
and I was so furious because this was a
Yeah.
person that mattered a great deal
Sure.
to her and to our family. And so but we talk a lot about choosing virtue, like what we think and what we do, one of the kids was like, do I have to go to confession for that thought? And I was like, well, if you changed your actions to good, even though you thought it, then no, you chose virtue. And that's so, I think in this case, choosing virtue meant, putting aside the anger, though, to be honest, when I see that person, I still get a little like, oh,
Well, we pray for those. We
well,
pray
I
in those
pray
moments.
I pray for that person. But I also, there's grace in that because I recognize that as a mom, as a woman, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, I've said things that in the moment that can be misconstrued, that wound when not meaning to,
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So there's charity there. But that person hurt my daughter's
Right.
heart, right?
Exactly.
So my first response was anger,
Right.
but it was like we ride at dawn, like
I love that. It makes me so happy for you to say that because I kind of feel like I'm the only one who's like, give me the name and address.
we ride at dawn is a saying in our family where like the girl likes one of the boy, like we find out like, especially with the poor younger boys because they have all of these older siblings.
Exactly.
There's like in the family chat, it's like, I'm making up names here, but it's like, did you see Stacy talking to John after science? And, Lily responded, we ride at dawn.
Awesome.
I'm like, breathe, everyone. She was sharing notes from class. Like, we're good.
Wonderful. I love that.
But there's that immediate response, right? But then taking it to Mary, and it's like, what would she do? But even more so, looking at the end goal, how can this be turned to good? Right? So out of this very, very hard moment and then hard time period of healing has come this incredible friendship that I have with this daughter of mine, where like, I mean, we used to like bust or like bump with, I'm showing here with my
Maybe
hands, but like we used to like
a little similar, maybe. I don't know.
we would, we would bump heads and now it's just, there's just this beautiful understanding because we have this time together. We're chopping together and we're realizing, she's caring for my health and I'm caring for hers. And then, hip hop class is not my forte. And so
I would be horrible. I would
she
be so
is
terrified.
laughing
I
at
couldn't
me.
even step in. So I'm very proud of you, but I would not even be able to step in.
It's humbling. It is so humbling. But then you find that even in that scenario, like today, there's this, just this new woman and she was huffing and puffing and I was like, I feel you, girl. But then like, I found myself turning around and being like, you got this, like, we got this. And like, I was like, look at you using your gifts in hip hop class. And then I was like, Mary Beth, it's not the time to like make sure that she has her shoelaces tied and like take care of her needs. But she came up after and was like, my name is, and it was just really, thanks for that encouragement. So, but I think the end goal of how can this bring us closer? How can I bring her closer to Jesus's heart through this interaction, right? And it's different with my daughters than it is with my sons.
Yeah.
You have sons and I am I'm sure that you have interactions or have watched them have interactions where their hearts are wounded, and how you might respond, one, is different than how Deacon Doug might respond.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
There's also how the world wants, them to respond,
Right.
and how do we form them? Like,
Yeah.
what words do we speak?
Yeah. I, what you're just saying kind of makes me think, there's even another question, like the world that when we were young parents would have said we should respond is different than the way the world is now. How you're supposed to respond. The feeling that I get now is you ghost someone, or you're supposed to, just pretend they don't exist, kind of like putting away, burying the situation, or it's a very strange thing. And but back when we were younger parents, it was, are you gonna tell your kid to push the other kid back, and if they get in trouble, I'll be there to pick you up at the principal's office, or is the world saying, no, don't tattletale to the teacher? I always hated that. For some reason, I guess I don't understand the concept of the tattletaling. Like, I thought that teacher was an adult in the room who could guide and shepherd the kids through interpersonal problems. And but now I think it's a very much like, it seems to be anyway, like hands off, step away, like pretend it didn't happen. And it's I don't understand the way it is now.
Hey, you're listening to The Visitation here on St. Gabriel Radio. This is Mary Beth Eberhard here with Lisa Iglesias, and we are talking about what it's like to be a shepherd as a mother when your children have words spoken to them that wound their hearts.
And I think too, to just say, like, your sons or your daughters, and then kind of like making that like, you and I know we're kind of making an overarching statement about boys or girls, and some boys are more sensitive, and some boys are more not callous, but more like they just let it wash over them, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like our two oldest, they're 22 months apart. So like growing up, my oldest would say, oh my gosh, he did this thing, whatever. And he didn't say sorry or whatever. So saying sorry was a big deal in the house. And so he, he'd say, oh, sorry. And he'd want to play right away with the oldest. And the oldest would be like, what? It doesn't, he's just ready to play again. Like it didn't mean anything. Like he's not like having to get over it, like he's just ready to be friends. And the oldest was also ready to be friends, but not yet, like kind of like how my husband talks about, like for a long time in our marriage, I would say that he had leprosy. Like if we had a disagreement and I really felt like this was awful, I hated that, conversation was yucky and hard, and we didn't agree, and not a full fight, but like, ugh. And then he would be like, oh, honey, and come rub my shoulders while I wash the dishes or something. I'm like, oh, I would arch away from it. Like, please do not touch me. Don't come near me. Like and he'd be like, I have leprosy. I'm like, exactly. Please step away. I know we said sorry, but I can't even, no. But so the boys would have that little interaction, but like, yeah, the girls. So we have 3 sons and a daughter, and it is different. It is different with that heart of a daughter, and
but
yeah.
there's this notion of like helicopter parenting, right? So I find myself being like, okay, and I've had those stages, right? I'm not a helicopter parent now. There's too many of them. And I've also grown in, honestly, there is some, we often are like, oh no, I'm not wise, but I do have a wisdom of
I like
raising
to say
8
I'm a
kids.
helicopter parent, but like at 10,000 feet. I know I don't think they go that high.
I
But
see
like
what you're saying.
I feel like I am, because I do want to be there to, not completely catch them when they
If
fall.
I could be a satellite parent.
But what I fondly remember, and this is, sorry, and you said you were going on another tangent
No, go
earlier,
ahead.
which you actually didn't, but I am going to. But I remember being in pre-K 3 with our oldest, and all the helicopter parenting that was happening. In fact, when we
In Miami.
went to drop off, there was like a rectangle window, in the door,
Mm-hmm.
and there was parents head above each other to look in and to make sure, are they happy? Oh, did he find his place on the carpet? Oh my, did he put his book in the? I mean, and then there was one mom within the group who had older kids, and she walked up to the door. She gave her little daughter a big kiss, sent her in, and was like, bye. And the kid was like, bye. And she looked at us and she giggled and she walked away. We were taking pictures through the window. It was ridiculous. And she was so at peace. And I will never forget that. That was my friend Renee. And she was just like, okay, I get it, guys. Yeah, we did that with our first, it's okay. But that's the helicopter parenting I think that people think about.
Yes. But I think our kids need, they need a level. So like, we say the term sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Right.
And that's kind of what I want to bring into, some of that old wisdom is, I tell my kids they have, this is a very female way of saying this, but they have like a little gate around their heart. Picture like a little white picket fence, and you're on a swing. Inside your little, there's grass down there, and you've got
secret garden kind of thing.
Yeah, my boys are like, okay, mom. But
he's shaking.
But you're on a swing, and and there's someone outside that gate, and they're firing words at you, and you can decide whether to let you open the gate and those words come in, or you close the gate, and they're like, oh, sorry.
I love that in theory.
Yeah. But then, what do you do when, words are said.
Words hurt. Words are
yeah.
That old image of, when you hurt someone and we've mentioned it here. I think I've mentioned it before. Like, it's like putting a nail inside a wooden fence. And then if you go and say, oh, when you realize it, or maybe the person has to tell you and you say, oh, I'm sorry. And they remove the nail out. It's kind of removing the nail out, but there's still a hole in the fence.
Right.
Who's going to make that? Who's going to fill that? And kind of the old tradition, kind of saying is, well, the Lord, grace and healing and time and things like that. Well, ouch. Words are like, it's almost like a poisonous arrow, because it can go in and we can say, oh, sticks and stones. And I love a lot of the old traditional, ways of trying to help our kids grow. But yeah, I don't think I realize how much. But my boys
still get, yes. So, okay, you're right to challenge me a little bit on this, because, no, in a good way, because, I'm seeing my boys come in from a hard practice, and they're mad, right? And or a game that they lost, or, they were at the rec league, and there's pushing and fighting, and things weren't fair, and this kid went, called me this, and this kid, and they have all this like testosterone, right? And they're mad, and they're and it's not gonna fly if I'm like, no, honey, did you let that in through the gate?
Exactly.
Like the gym bag's gonna come down. They're gonna look at me, and so as Catholics, we think, it's the beauty of having Mary as our guide, kind of as our advocate in motherhood, because it's like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, Mama, one, go up the stairs with him, and two, what do we, how do you want me to handle this?
Yeah.
We have those little bracelets. Do you remember? Gosh, it's like, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
But I need one for the other wrist, right? Yeah. Which is like, what would Mary do?
Yeah.
What would I just need that guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for us, when we've walked through different hard times when this situation has happened with, the words, I remember just feeling gutted for my kid, and like, I cannot fix this, and like crying in adoration, like, how do I help? What do I do? And I remember just praying and really, isn't God so good? Like, I know on one of the morning shows, Dan Boyden was talking about, like, in the hardest times, like in times of like great tragedy or great like need or whatever, yes, we turn to God. Like, I need something. Oh, let's pray, right? And pray as a family or whatever. And it was great need. And, you're just open. You're like, anything, Lord. And thankfully, he gave me an idea. And of like, it was, again, what you're saying, it was time. It was time being spent in the car. It was time that was crazy for me to drive as far as I did there and back so many times a week. But I got my daughter to a place where it gives her life with the horses, and she was helping out with horses. And what happened with that was Jesus, I felt very strongly. It was very clear. It was like, you can do that. I was begging, what can I do? What can I do? He's like, you can do that. And so I just stepped into it, and praise God, he did the rest.
Image, though, that you give, like, I was immediately struck when you're saying, I'm on my knees and I'm weeping and praying as a mother for this daughter, which is what we do, right? And I have this image of Mary just holding her son, right? Mm-hmm. She is with us through all of those moments of our motherhood. And we ache, we talk about, words can hurt, right? I mean, social media, our kids are battling something that we didn't have to experience, one saying, a post can go viral and like, it can go viral within a school community, right? You and I both homeschool, but those communities have their own.
Yes, they do. It can be insidious. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And our kids, they're wounded. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm doing hip hop class because my kid was wounded. And I was like, you drive that distance so that your daughter can be with horses. Mm-hmm. And I get out there and shimmy and shake.
Yeah.
And
I choose the better path.
Yeah, you did. No, just kidding. we can switch
not
it up.
At all. No, I love that. I mean, our time was time in the car, so that was good. But,
right.
Yeah. But it was really, and I am so, I'm just super excited, and I'll just share this with you because I haven't gotten to talk to you, but like so I recently reconsecrated myself to Mama Mary, and just finished that, I guess, a week or so ago. Mm-hmm. And it was like I had never read any of it before. It was like all fresh again. And I did it where Sister Miriam was reading it on Hallow. Amazing. And, but what's, like different times in your life, different phrases stick with you. And what has stuck with me was, Mary, lend me your heart. And Mary, keep me in your heart. And I am different every time I pray that. And right now I have the phenomenal blessing of having 4 grandchildren visiting. And, but I have to ask her, lend me your heart. 'Cause I don't want to go in, well, you'll know when you're a grandma, I don't want to go into mom mode where I'm like doing the normal mom things, rules wise. And they're like, I want to be yummy and sweet and late nights and snacks and that kind of grandma, lots of fun. And so I want to like, how do I get to be that side? 'Cause you do have to have decorum. You can't have licorice all day. Like you have to have the vegetables, and you have to like, so, but beyond that, like in these kind of situations, like Mary, I'm just a little person. You mother Jesus. And like you said, I love that you mentioned it's like her holding him, that kind of ache with these words.
Those words, lend me your heart. I mean, we talk about putting in the practical, right? Like, how can we make this practical? How, when our kids are hurt by words spoken, words posted, and I don't know about you, but every single one of my kids has had moments of like closed off, and I'm trying to peel back the layers. Like, I see you're hurting. Let me in.
Right.
And just, I could see myself just visualizing myself outside that closed door of a bedroom, being, hand on the door, being like, Mary, lend me your heart. And I think that's the immediate response, right? Because it's not so much the actions that we need as much as like that first step
Mm-hmm.
is what forms us into being
Right.
the mothers are, we're called to be.
Right.
And your motherhood is different than my motherhood, but the goal is, excuse me, the same. The goal is the same, that we want to raise kids that know the Lord. If they know him, they're going to love him and they're going to want to serve him, but their hearts are going to be united. They're going to be soft and tender to his. And Mama Mary's going to help that.
And then, I think going back to that, call it helicoptering if you want to, but, that if they let us snuggle with them, as I get bigger, there's a little less of that, right? But they, of reminding them, like, hey, go back to that Hunger Games line, is it real or not real? Real or not real? You're amazing. They'll be like, not real, but going back to, like, to be funny, right? Use that line. But then, even if it's holding their face, that how precious they are, how much we love them, how, those kind of things. And like, I know this hurts. I know this is hard. Don't forget this part, don't forget this part.
Know who you are. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time with me on the front porch, with us on the front porch here at the Visitation. And let's just ask Mama Mary here to stay with us in our parenting. Thanks for joining us.